Have you ever wondered why so many people use the same old gun in Call of Duty? It's the age-old question and there really is no answer to it. Today, however, we're going to take a look at the unsung hero in the game, the MTZ-556. This gun is honestly so good and it hardly gets the credit it deserves. It's one of the first few guns you unlock as you progress through the game, and when the game first came out, it really wasn't that good. It struggled to compete with other weapons such as the MCW or the DG56, and it stayed that way until the most recent patches. They buffed the damage range and bullet velocity significantly in late November, and sometime mid-December they nerfed the hipfire spread due to an exploit I'll talk about a little later in the video. These changes made a huge difference in how the gun was used, and it can even be seen in the base form of this gun with no attachments, which I'm going to be using for the first little bit of this video. I'm going to start off talking about why this gun is so powerful, and then I'm going to be showing you one of the best builds I was able to create for it as well, so make sure you stick around to see that. So overall, the MTZ-556 does pretty decent damage, but unless you hit 2 headshots, it's going to take 5 rounds to take someone down. And because this gun is capable of firing 810 rounds per minute, it takes an average of 333 milliseconds to take someone out. Although saying it like that sounds like we're in the mafia calling in a hit on someone. But that time can vary significantly depending on how many shots you miss. Thankfully, at this rate of fire, you're still shooting almost 14 rounds per second, so it's a little easier to recover after missing a round or two. I know I've already said this, but this gun was truly terrible when the game was first released. I used it for about 3 matches when I first got to level 4, and it was pretty much the only gun I had access to, and it was misery. Although sometime in early December, I watched a couple of videos about it, and there was a build for this gun that was nuts. It didn't make the gun any stronger, but the bullet spread was insane. It was basically like playing CSGO in Call of Duty. You could build this gun to have pinpoint hipfire accuracy from almost any distance, and it looked awesome. But that leads me into my next point of how they nerfed this gun. In early December, they fixed that issue because of how broken it was, and sadly, I never got to experience using it that way. Nowadays, the hipfire spread is pretty standard for an assault rifle, that being 2.6 degrees per second for the minimum and a 7-degree max spread. The recoil isn't the best for this gun because of how fast the fire rate it has, although it's a lot easier than I thought to control. With the 23-degree horizontal recoil and a 54-degree vertical recoil, it isn't that bad, and with the attachments I'll be using, I lowered those numbers dramatically. Now, the mobility of the MTZ-556 is almost identical to the MCW, which is one of the main guns everyone uses, although the sprint speed is quite a bit faster, probably due to the fact that the weight of this gun is lower in real life. When doing some research, I found this gun was modeled after the CZ805 brand, which weighs about 8 pounds, and that's 2 pounds lighter than the ACR, which the MCW is modeled after. Of course, we're talking about a game, but these are some factors that are taken into consideration when designing these guns. Also, the damage difference is due to the size of the bullets used in the real-life companions as well, in which the MTZ is chambered in 5.56 and the MCW is chambered in 6.8 by 51mm. The handling for the MTZ is also very good with no attachments as well. With a 220 millisecond ADS speed and a 189 millisecond sprint to fire speed, this gun is super speedy. It almost reminds me of the Chimera from Modern Warfare 2, but this one has significantly better range. All this being said, it's time to show some attachments that make this gun even better and give reasoning as to why you should switch up how you play and start using the MTZ-556 in your arsenal. The attachments I used are just my preference, and some of them may not be the best, so let me know what setup you like to use. I started out by adding the Shadow Strike Suppressor just so I wouldn't show up on the radar, mainly for when I'm playing Search and Destroy. I like this one because there's no negative impacts to the gun, which can be very beneficial since it won't lower the damage range like many other suppressors. I also added the Slugger 4 laser for the increased ADS speed, along with not giving away my position. And for the back end, I chose the EXF close quarter stock to lessen the recoil, although it does affect the ADS speed a little, which I've already countered using the laser, so it kinda balances out. I paired that with the Bruin CR24 Assault Grip for the same reasons, except this attachment doesn't bother your ADS speed, just the idle sway, which in my opinion isn't a big deal for a weapon that I'll mainly use to rush with, because you'll spend a lot less time aiming at any sort of range, so that stat doesn't really affect anything. But if you prefer to play distance, you may want to look into something like the XRK Palm Rest Grip. The final attachment I used was the DR6 Hand Stop, which screws your tack stance and hipfire spread, but makes your mobility and handling stat way faster. These attachments make the gun a little better for handling by decreasing the ADS time by 19 milliseconds and sprint to fire time by 16 milliseconds. This seems minuscule, but in such a fast-paced game it makes a huge difference. To put it into perspective, this gun fires around about every 75 milliseconds, so being able to start firing that much quicker increases your reaction time significantly. The strafe speed and crouch walking speed is also improved by using these attachments, which is very beneficial when trying to get to cover while simultaneously returning fire at those pesky rats who play the game. I've also lowered the horizontal recoil by 5 degrees and the vertical recoil by over 10 degrees, which makes it even easier to stay on target. The only thing I would consider changing would be using a better barrel to increase the bullet velocity, and a lot of the attachments that improve that factor will also simultaneously allow for better recoil control. That being said, I definitely think this class setup works very well for a more aggressive playstyle, and you can always adjust them to see what works best for you. All in all, the MTZ-556 is very underrated in my opinion. The exact numbers for these stats might not be 100% accurate because of some issues with Activision migrating MW2 stats into the game as well, but the way the gun feels and performs speaks for itself, even without attachments. So let me know what you think about my choices, and give me some suggestions for what I should do differently. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and until next time, peace out.